All right, good morning, everybody. Just gonna wait a few seconds as I know it takes a little bit of time for you to come on board and start seeing us and hearing us as we're here today. We have a lot of people joining us today, so I'll just take a breather as you get set up here. And I'll wish you a good morning to our colleagues and to you, the kind of 300 plus graduate students and any other interested parties joining us today for this graduate student town hall. While you are sitting, hopefully comfortably and safely in your homes, we'd like to virtually welcome you into Fourth Space. Concordia University's Fourth Space provides opportunities for all to connect with what Concordians are working on. All of our activities are free, open to the public, with the aim of facilitating access through interactive and engaging experiences to what our faculty members, our researchers, and our students are exploring in their work. So as a platform for our community members, we are delighted to welcome you here today so that you might have an opportunity to hear from School of Graduate Studies representatives and ask your questions. After some initial words of welcome and important remarks and a brief presentation, we will open the question period. And at that time, we will invite you to use the Q&A feature here in the webinar to engage with our guest panelists. But for now, we invite you to take in some important words from Dr. Faye Diamantudi, Interim Dean of Graduate Studies, for opening remarks. I'm passing it over to you, Faye. Welcome.
Thank you, Anna. Welcome, everybody. I would like to welcome you all to our inaugural graduate student town hall. The scope of this initiative is to provide an additional channel of direct communication between our students and the School of Graduate Studies. Thank you for the questions. There were many and very interesting, and to provide you with answers, concise answers to the most common questions, we prepared a small PowerPoint presentation that we will share with you in a bit. So while the presentation will be going on, please do not post your questions. We will address them at the end of the presentation. In the meantime, before we start with the presentation, we have a little poll for you that we'd like you to complete so that we can better gauge where you're coming from, which programs you're in, etc., etc. So if you guys can post the poll for our students to complete. And is the poll up? Yes. Okay. So we'll take a few seconds so that you guys can answer it. Is it done? Anna, Dagos?
We are just 70, we're reaching 80% of people who have voted, so we'll just wait for a few more folks to get to it. Thanks everybody for taking the time to do this. And I'm seeing that the votes are stopping to trickle in, so we'll end the poll now. And we see that we have mostly master students joining us in course-based programs, a lot of people from the Gina Cody's School of Engineering Computer Science. 78% of folks are international students here today and outside of Canada. Welcome, everyone.
So welcome, everybody. So before we start with the presentation, we have a special guest with us here today. We have our interim provost and VP academic, Dr. Ann Whitelaw. Ann will share a few thoughts with you, and then we'll go off to the practical matters. So Ann, the floor is yours.
Virtual floor, yes, indeed. Thank you, Faye, so much for the introduction, and thank you, Anna, for hosting us on the virtual Fourth Space. I know that I'm very much much as I'm enjoying all of the work that you're doing online, I'm very much looking forward to being back in the Fourth Space, looking out at all the members of the public who are looking in to see the wonderful things that are happening at Concordia. So maybe I'll start by thanking all of you for joining us, and for thanking all of you for choosing Concordia to do your graduate studies. We're really pleased to have you, And we look forward to welcoming you in person as soon as we're able. It goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, that these are very difficult times for everyone. We recognize that for students, learning and living online is a constant challenge, and that the social as well as the physical isolation is not easy for anybody to be dealing with, but we know that it's especially difficult for students, both at the undergraduate and at the graduate level. I myself am a graduate of Concordia University. I did my PhD here in a year I won't mention. And even then, when we were in person, the challenges of graduate school is not to be taken lightly. That sense of feeling like it was you and your computer screen as you try to write out your dissertation is an experience for all of us. And I think that it's important to remember that as we live in this particular context, but also to remember that that experience of isolation is tripled or quadrupled under the current pandemic. As I look forward to Concordia over the next few terms, as you know, the winter term will be online again because of the uncertain progress of the coronavirus. As we're in the middle of the second wave, moving towards the holiday period where all expectations are that cases will likely increase, certainly in Quebec. The interest in reopening our spaces for classes is low, because we want to make sure that our students remain safe, that our community remains safe. For those of you who have not been on campus yet, you should know that Concordia, the downtown campus in particular, is a vertical campus. We are high-rise campus. Many of the classrooms and the labs are on upper floors of buildings that are, in some cases, are 12, 13 stories high. So just to give you a sense of, because we did some calculations early on in the pandemic, to be able to see how long it would take for a cohort of students, even at reduced capacity, to get into that first, to get into their classrooms. And we realized in one of our larger buildings that it would take perhaps upwards of 5 or 6 hours to get all the students into the classroom for their first class, and then to try to figure out how to get them out before we could get the next phase in. So I'm sure you can do the calculation that having in-person classes and in-person labs is a challenge. That being said, we have opened up, we have focused on in-person activities that require lab work, research work, and we are welcoming students onto campus for those activities. And we were very pleased recently when the federal government announced that it was opening its borders to international students so that they could take advantage of those in-person activities being offered at Concordia. My feeling for what's going to happen in the summer, again, I wish I had a crystal ball and could make those projections for everyone's sake. I myself would like to be back in my office and get out of my little office here at home. Recognizing also that I'm fortunate to have that little office at home, that little space of my own. But looking towards the summer, we're very much hoping that we will be able to open a little bit more fully. And we're starting to look at the fall to be able to plan how we might be able to have more hybrid programs, hybrid offerings of some classes online, some classes in person. And really, we're thinking as creatively and as innovatively as we possibly can to make that work happen. So I'll stop there. Just reiterate again my pleasure at welcoming you all to Concordia, and I'll hand it off to Faye to take over.
Thank you very much, Anne. Thank you for joining us today. So I will, because we don't have that much time left, I will start with our presentation. I will share my screen and move to the slideshow. Okay. Okay, so here we go. One of the most common questions was access to facilities. Anne already discussed that a little bit, and we explained why. We could not access our classrooms and we could not have classes as regular. For our graduate students, in particular the doctorate students that have office access, and you cannot access your office during the pandemic, during the closure of the university, what we offer you as an alternative is access to the libraries. Our libraries offer the possibility for you to have study space. You can take your laptop and have the full day there to study, for those of you that don't have regular study space at home. The libraries have been underused so far, so there are spaces available. So for those of you that are challenged at home and you cannot study, and you are in Montreal, that is, our libraries are an alternative. I will pass the next slide to Christy. Christy, you can speak a little bit to this. So just before Christy takes over, different members from the School of Graduate Studies will be speaking to the activities that are their offices are responsible for. So Christy, take it away.
Thank you, Faye. So I'm the manager of academic programs and development in the School of Graduate Studies. And one of the things I are responsible for is Grad Pro Skills. And with that, we have relationship with campus partners. So I wanted to highlight some of the services and opportunities that exist for grad students, even online in the online environment. So for those of you who are in a co-op program, the co-op program is still running, and in many cases, it's been able to place all of its students. And in some cases, there's been even more demand than in a usual circumstance, because being able to employ students working from home opens new opportunities that would have been limited by physical space. The School of Graduate Studies, we have our Graduate Community Support Fund that used to fund more in-person events, but we have rephrased or readapted that program to fund projects that are led by graduate students doing outreach to the community in response to the current situation we're in. So if you have an idea for some sort of outreach project where you think your research could be of use, or your work could be of use to the Montreal community or the Concordia community, we could fund you up to $5,000 to put that project into motion. Also, in our team, we run the Public Scholars Program, which is an important opportunity for senior PhD students to promote their research to the wider public. And this program is still running and is very active, and we're currently in the process of selecting our 5th cohort for the program. Next slide. In terms of mental health support, Grad Pro Skills works very closely with Campus Wellness and other partners. And one of the new things that we've started offering in these times is a number of weekly drop-in sessions. So on Mondays, we have Grad Chat, because we know students are feeling disconnected from other students and are struggling with different issues. And sometimes it's just a matter of connecting with other students who might be dealing with the same problem to identify solutions to that. So on Mondays, we have an hour-long drop-in running, which we call Grad Chat. And the students who've been involved in that have found that an excellent way to connect with other students. We just started a new one for those students who are interested in coding, have coding projects and assignments and research. So it's on Wednesday mornings. It's called Code Together, and it's run by our senior grad students who run our R and Python workshops. And then we have one on Friday, which is a Write Together group. So a lot of students have found motivation in writing with other students, even virtually, just having that Zoom running in the background to know that there's other people there and having that set time in their schedule to stay motivated on track. So we have our own 2-hour writing group that runs on Fridays. And I also wanted to flag that Campus Wellness, one of the things that they did is totally revamp their website and launched that a few weeks ago. And on that, there's a lot of resources that are there to help you deal with any health or wellness issues that you might be facing in these times. In Grad Pro Skills, we've been very very happy with our move online. Since May, we've managed to offer 180 workshops for the Concordia graduate student community. For those of you who are new to Concordia, Grad Pro Skills is your hub for connecting to the student services that will help you in your professional development. So things like project management, leadership skills, those soft skills that you need to develop for your grad school experience and also for after you graduate. As well, we run a number of workshops on academic skills. So writing your paper, doing research, connecting with the resources at the library. So since the pandemic, we've put on 180 workshops just for grad students, and we've currently got about 115 scheduled for the winter term, and the registration for those will open on December 17th. We've also been very active in the new student orientation. I noticed there was a lot of new students who are looking to come to Concordia and just started or will be starting soon. So for those students, our orientation has moved online, and it will be coming up on December 17th and January 12th. And we've had record participation in the orientation because it's much more accessible now that it's online. And while you don't have to be present in the moment for the orientation, the resources are there available for you for several months after the orientation. So it's really been a great move. I also want to flag for some of you who might be needing some writing assistance in English. The Student Success Center has moved their consultations online. So if you need to meet with a writing assistant, there's a drop-in session on Friday mornings as well. And last thing I want to mention is Concordia has, since we've gone virtual, we've launched the Udemy suite access to the 4,000 plus Udemy online courses. As a graduate student at Concordia, you have access to all of those. So it's a great complementary tool for training you up. And specifically to Concordia and to PhD students, we've purchased an online subscription to Versatile PhD, which is a career planning tool. I'll hand it over to whoever is next, or back to Faye.
Yes, so the next one is Kelly Collins from the International Student Office. Kelly, the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Kelly. So I wanted to talk to you about questions that we had gone through about for international students. So the first thing is that our winter is obviously going to be mostly online. There are a few exceptions to this where labs or research might be open, and those that are in these in-person activities, the list of courses or research labs are written on our website. So I encourage you to visit those. Other than those, everyone else should be studying remotely. We encourage all of our international students to register as soon as possible for their courses or their continuing in program, so that you have what you need in order to explain to immigration that you are registered at Concordia. For this winter, you are being asked for a CAQ and a study permit. The study permit rules have been already announced on the federal website and indicate that you should apply for your study permit prior to the beginning of your program for winter term. The CAQ rules, we have not been given confirmation yet, so we're still waiting on those. In the meantime, as soon as possible, if you haven't done so already, apply for your CAQ and study permit and upload these documents to your Student Service Center. What we're asking for is an application, proof of application for both of these documents. And then as soon as you receive the confirmation of these documents, you can upload those as well. For health insurance, everybody who is in Canada must be covered by Concordia's health insurance if you're an international student. It's required by law, by government law. So if you are in Canada or plan to come to Canada, you must have Concordia's international plan. There are no exemptions for that unless you qualify for a RAMQ card or you're a sponsored student. For those that are remaining outside of Canada for winter, again, we have not received confirmation from the government that we can exempt you, but as soon as we have any confirmation, we will post that onto our website. There is telemedicine services available through your Blue Cross app. through a company called Maple. So we encourage you to use Maple telemedicine services whenever possible, to avoid going to hospitals or clinics. And there's a very useful website, concordia.ca/help, that has a huge amount of information on health and wellness that might be useful to you. We've received quite a few questions regarding permanent code. So for those of you that are not returning students, so you're new students, you do require something called a permanent code. The code itself is not so important, but it is important to for you, but it is important for the university. So in order to obtain a permanent code, the university requires either your study permit or a birth certificate that has your parents' names on it. You can upload these documents to your My Concordia portal, your Student Service Center. If you need more information, you can get this at the website I've written here under permanent code. If there's any problems with the documents you've uploaded, the government reporting unit will contact you and let you know. Do I switch the slide? Perfect. Awesome. Travel. So currently, and I say currently because the rules can change. So the rules as of today are that you require immigration documents, so valid immigration documents to travel to Canada if you're currently abroad. The university must be listed on a government list of designated learning institutions with a readiness plan. And as of today, Concordia is on this list. I say that because the list is dynamic. So it is important that you review the list prior to your travel. And you do require a 14-day quarantine plan. It is very important that you review our checklist and visit public health website in order to make sure that you have checked off all the boxes and you have thought about what you're going to do for your 14-day quarantine plan. Supporting documents for travel, we have quite a lengthy list on our website. The website is listed here. I will admit the list is longer than a normal list, and that is because we're not really sure along the way what questions you might be asked, and we want to make sure that you are prepared for these questions. So please review that list. And again, we're often updating the list as we go. We learn from our students who arrive and we ask them questions, and then we update our lists accordingly. So please review that website again before you travel and make sure that you have all the documents that we've listed. Advise the International Students Office ahead of your travel. We'd like to say about 2 weeks before you travel to make sure that you're enrolled in your health insurance plan. It's important that when you arrive in Montreal, you are already enrolled in the plan, just in case you might need it upon arrival. The university is not providing any additional letters of support. So if an airline is asking for additional documents, there is an FAQ on our website that you can provide to the airline. Given that the government of Canada has said that we are on this designated list of institutions with a readiness plan, there's no need for extra documents. There is a FAQ section specific to international students and coronavirus. On our website, there's information about travel, quarantine information, how corona may impact your employment, your health insurance, post-graduation work permits, and remote learning. You can access that from going to our ISO website and coronavirus. If you're looking to get in contact with the International Students Office, we have virtual drop-ins on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 10 to 11:30. At these drop-ins, you can discuss immigration information with one of our immigration advisors. We have a number of workshops. These are just some of them that were coming up, so I've listed them here. What to expect when you travel to Canada, health insurance information sessions post-grad, and we host the Government of Canada for a PR session, so you can check those out. And we're also involved in a student service station, which with many other offices on campus on Wednesdays from 11 to 12. You can also email us or check out our FAQs. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. So we move to deferrals and course enrollment. So I'll pass that to Nadim.
Hi, my name is Nadeem. Do you guys see me? No? Yeah, okay. Hi, my name is Nadeem. I work at the School of Graduate Studies. I'm going to touch a little bit about the admission deferral process and enrolling in your courses. All the information that you're given about your admission is based on your letter of acceptance. Please make sure that you read your letter of acceptance correctly because all the information is there. If for any reason that you're an international student or a domestic student and you cannot make it for the term that you've been admitted to, make sure you go on to your letter of acceptance. There is a clear email address there, and there are steps on how you can basically defer the admission. You'll have to go back to the departments. You'll have to send them the email saying that I'd like to defer the admission. And just please make sure that you give them some time because it is it's a time where everybody's quite busy, so it might just take a little bit of time for everyone to respond back. And I've seen some questions that students keep asking all the time. It's like, I don't have an answer as yet. You will receive an answer. It just sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Deferrals are, again, the admissions and the deferrals are part of the departments because they are the ones who handle the admissions. So each faculty or each department will have a different policy with regards to deferrals. So if you want to know what their deferral policy is, make sure you contact them. You can contact the GPAs or you can contact the email again, and then they will respond back to you about the deferral process. Enrolling in courses. Concordia is a very big university and people register quite early. So just make sure the first and foremost thing is you make sure that you register for your courses as soon as possible, because if you wait till the last minute, you might have problems getting into a course. So just make sure registration it's quite simple. You actually go onto your portal on My Concordia and then you register for your courses. There is a lot of information also on Concordia's website where you basically can go registering for courses, and then they'll basically give you a step-by-step process, but it's actually quite simple. You just go onto the website, My Concordia portal, and you can choose. If you have any questions regarding what courses you have to choose, you can always contact the department, the GPAs or the GPTs, and then they will be able to give you some sort of guidance. If any student is registered in a qualifying program or they have to do a qualifying program, please make sure that you read the qualifying program details quite clearly, because some of those are important in the sense that you have to complete that qualifying program within a certain period of time. So just make sure you don't wait till the last minute, because it could cause problems when you're about to graduate. Yeah, that's pretty much for enrolling. I think that pretty much covers it. But if you have any questions with regards to admissions or deferrals, please contact the department. There's some students who also were inquiring about changing of program of studies. So you can change, let's say if you've been admitted into an MEng and you'd like to switch to an MASC or a thesis-based program, you can do that. Which is called an option change, or an option change. You can basically do the option change through your self-service portal on My Concordia. You can go to the Concordia's website, and the link is right there, and you can ask for the change over there. You can also do, if you'd like to change your study program, you can go from a PhD to a master's or a master's to PhD. Again, you can contact the department. Your best option is to contact the department. Program change usually requires you to be withdrawn from one program before you can start the other programs. So there are a few steps involved. You might not have to submit any new documentation, but again, the departments will be able to give you more information on what needs to be done with regards to your transfer credits, etc. Faith, back to you.
Okay, actually, not just yet.
Sorry, yes, next slide.
Still you, Nadeem.
Yes, sorry. Thesis submission and defense. A lot of the students who are basically in the MASc or PhD program who have to do thesis, keep in mind that the thesis office requires you to submit 6 weeks prior to your defense. This is how much time it needs for to find the external examining committee and the supervisor and set up the thesis. So just make sure that if you're going to defend, for example, if you're defending in the winter semester, that you give yourself 6 weeks time before you can do your defense. That's the required time. Currently, thesis defense, because of COVID, are only online through Zoom until further notice. All in-person defenses have been suspended right now because the campus is closed. So Zoom is the only way to do it. Again, you might have an initial submission, and once you do an initial submission, there might be some corrections that need to be done on your thesis. The final submission, after the required revisions have to be done, also need to be submitted onto the Spectrum repository. And then there's a whole process. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to the thesis office. You can just go onto our Concordia's website or the School of Graduate Studies' website, and there is the information about thesis office, and then they can basically guide you. But a lot of other information is also available. You can either check, the links are right there. That's pretty much it from my side. Back to you, Faye.
Yes, indeed. Now we will pass the floor to Cynthia from the School of Graduate Studies and Annette from the Student Accounts Office that will address all the questions regarding financial matters.
Annette, would you like to start since it's your slide that's up?
Yes, I will start.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Annette Bowen from the Student Accounts Office. I'm the team lead in the Student Accounts Office at Concordia. The Student Accounts Office is responsible for 80% of the university's tuition revenue. So we collect all of the revenues for tuition and compulsory fees for the university. To view your account, you can visit your student center via My Concordia portal. There we have all of the fees. We have your account balances. We have anything that has triggered onto your account by using either your code permana, either your status. Any status or code permana or any changes that has been done to your enrollment will trigger your billing. So on there, you will see the different changes that has been made to your student account. You can always visit myconcordia.ca to see what your account looks like. On our website, what we have is that we have a tuition calculator. So many students need to know, how much do I owe? How much do you think it costs me to study at Concordia? We have a tuition calculator that is very useful for students, and that gives you all of your fees, whether it be international or for domestic students. It will also detail whether you're in a thesis or in a non-thesis or a PhD or a certificate or a diploma program. So a calculator is very useful to give you the amount of money that it could cost you if you need to study at Concordia. Please take note though, that the calculator is only an estimate of your fees. Reason, the fees change every year, and this is controlled either by the university or by the government of Quebec. So anytime you use our calculator, it is really an estimate that you're receiving there. By the way, the estimate could be very, very close to the actual. So for a complete list, so students normally ask, how do I make my payments? There are many different methods of payments that we have online. For domestic students, we have our bill payment, where you can go directly to your bank and set up Concordia as a payee. Your account number is your student ID number. For international students, what we have is we have wire transfers. So our third-party provider, which is CIBC, will allow you to do a wire transfer to Concordia. We encourage our international students to use our CIBC platform to make their payments, to make their wire transfer payments. That is the best method for international students. Can you change? Okay.
Thank you, Annette. Cynthia, that's...
Hi, everyone. My name is Cynthia Razzo, and I'm the manager of graduate awards and postdocs at the School of Graduate Studies. I won't My presentation will be quite brief. I want to let you guys know of the amount of awards that we administer at the School of Graduate Studies. So we have about $24 million in graduate awards that we allocate for the 2021 academic year. That's about 1,250 awards that we do administer to graduate students. Although we are responsible for the assigning of all the awards, it's your graduate program director who determine who receives the awards. So they're responsible for the selection, for holding internal competitions. Should they do hold internal competitions, every department administers these awards differently. So my advice to you is, if you are inquiring about awards for the winter upcoming term, please contact your graduate program director for further information to see what funding opportunities remain for you. Also, for those of you who do hold an award for January 21, all the award disbursements will occur on February 2nd. This is 5 days post the D&E deadline date, which is January 26th. And all the awards will be dispersed directly into your student account. That's it for me.
Okay, so I think this is it. This wraps the presentation portion. We hope we addressed the most common questions. Now we will open the floor to questions. The presentation will be posted at the following website that you see on your screen. Someone from the panelists will copy and paste this on the Q&As as well, so that you can access the presentation. And at this point, I will stop sharing my screen, and I will pass the floor to John Baudouin. John Baudouin is the director of the School of Graduate Studies, and she will be the one navigating the questions and passing the mic to whoever is best match in answering. So John, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. We're getting a few questions already. We've had a few coming in during the presentation, and I believe that a few of those were answered. We're trying to keep up. There was a comment about the town hall format not being very open. I answered privately, but I just wanted to say this was the first time that we've done this, and we weren't entirely sure how it would go. And the invitation did go to over 9,000 people. So we had to try and contain the environment as much as possible for a first go. Obviously, we will learn as we go, and in the future, we can open it up a little more. So we also had the questions come in advance, and we had hoped that we would be able to address the questions that were submitted throughout the presentation. So if you're a bit disappointed, I'm sorry about that. And we will, of course, continually improve and make it as open as we possibly can in the future. So we have a question here. How can I add dental coverage to my health insurance? I think that's a good question for Kelly.
Sure. If you're an international student, our insurance does not cover dental. However, you can purchase dental coverage through the GSA and CSU insurance. The same can be said for the Canadian students. I believe maybe Annette knows better if the insurance is for Canadian students is automatically added,
Yes.
the dental insurance.
Yes, the health and dental plan is automatically charged to any Concordia, domestic Concordia student. As you said before, international students, if they need to be enrolled in the health and dental, they need to go directly to student care.
Okay, thank you. How can future students interact with each other? The winter session is going to be online and we have no idea who all our classmates are. I think that Christy has a few suggestions on that.
Sorry, could you repeat the question? I was responding to another one.
It was about how students can interact with each other in January since they are not here and they don't know their classmates.
Okay, so Specifically, if you're a new student, definitely connect with your mentor, your new student mentor in the new student services. So they have graduate students who they've got 4 graduate students working with them whose job is really just to be there and connect and be a resource for you to help navigate the Concordia community. As well, we've partnered with them as well as with Campus Wellness and our own team of graduate students. We run our weekly drop-in meeting. So that's grad chat, code together, and the writing group on. So that's another way to just connect with other students. The grad chat on Mondays is really quite laid back. It's really just to chat with others. We play games, we connect on various topics every week. So check that out. If you go to concordia.ca/gradproskills, the link is there under our events and activities. And if you're really confused about how to navigate the Concordia environment, I also recommend the Navigators program as a way to be paired up with a staff member of Concordia who knows the Concordia system from the back end. And then you can ask them questions and they'll help you get your response faster.
Thank you. Question again about health insurance. For international students who have arrived in Quebec already, does the insurance become active now or in January 1st?
So our insurance, if you're a new student for winter term, then the insurance starts January 1st, but it is available to purchase 1 month. You can purchase the month of December directly from the International Students Office. You can write to iso.healthinsurance@concordia.ca and we'll sell you 1 month insurance. If you're a returning student or you started in the fall, you should have notified the International Students Office so that we can retroactively put you back into the insurance plan. It's very important that you do that. You're required to be covered by the university once you arrive in Canada.
Thank you. If our winter and summer intakes are online, can we move to another province where we have our community?
I'll assume that's an international question. I'm not sure. My team and I have been going back and forth, and we've asked colleagues across Canada the answer to this question, and we're not entirely sure what the direct answer is. In fact, last week we even asked at a panel of Canadian Border Service agents, and we were not given a clear answer. What I can tell you is if you're traveling to Canada, and you're an international student, your entry was based on a readiness plan that was built for Montreal Concordia University. And therefore, we do believe that it is up to the discretion of the agent to say that if you are planning to live in Toronto or Vancouver, that is outside the jurisdiction of the readiness plan. However, I do understand that there are reasons that you may choose to live in another province. Perhaps you have family there. You can have an established apartment, a place to live financially. But this would be really up to the discretion of the officer that you speak to at the airport to decide whether or not this is allowed.
Thank you. Another question about insurance. Can I add my kids to the Concordia health insurance, or do you have to buy a separate insurance plan for children?
So Concordia doesn't have a dependent plan for our students' spouses or children. However, you can go onto our website under health insurance. There's a link for, or there's a button for dependents, and there's a list of health insurance providers that do provide family independent plans. Keep in mind that when you do purchase a plan for your family, that you yourself as a student must maintain the insurance provided to you by Concordia University. So in some cases, you may end up having 2 coverages.
Thank you. Can you please tell me how students can find a summer internship? I'm actually not sure to whom we should refer that question. If anybody wants to pipe in, it's very much related to the co-op office, perhaps, or if it's in a specific program like aerospace. I believe some programs have internships within them. So typically there's a program assistant within the program who would help students find internships. Ali, I don't want to put you on the spot, but is that correct? Do the programs in engineering typically have people to help them find internships?
Yes, actually, that's a good question there. You have to really look into different programs. I know, for example, CIADI, Concordia Institute for Aerospace Design and Innovation, they have their own program. Last week, we had a big seminar. Industry people were there, like all the possible internships that you can find, even in industries that are challenging now, like aerospace. Still there are opportunities and there exist MyTax opportunities. It is really program dependent and it exists. Our co-op also institute is very active. It was one of the most active time during the pandemic, and they have placed a good number of students, undergrad and grad students. I would definitely encourage people to look into their specific program and find it. And I know for aerospace, definitely there are lots of opportunities, even in this time of pandemic.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm seeing a lot of questions that are seemingly very specific to individuals. Please don't despair if your question is not answered today live. We will be receiving the questions after today's session, and we will be posting answers as appropriate. And we're also going to give you the list at the end of the individual contacts at the School of Graduate Studies and the phone number for the contact information for the general, to reach us in a general way. And that question gets vetted by somebody and sent to the correct person who can answer you directly. So if it's not answered today, it doesn't mean an answer is not forthcoming. So can we select more than 2 subjects in our first semester in a master's program? I'm looking at Peter Pawlik, our Associate Dean in Student Affairs.
Well, that's a rather broad question. I think it would depend on what the person means by multiple subjects. So if whatever program you're in, go to the graduate calendar and there'll be a specific program entry for your program, and it'll list all the possible courses that you must take as part of your program, as well as possible elective courses. So to answer that question, you really need to go to the graduate calendar, look at your program requirements, and use that to guide you as to what courses to take with respect to different subjects. And also definitely speak to your graduate program director about that too, just to make sure that whatever you take is in line with what you need in order to complete your degree.
Thank you. Will Concordia help international students regarding quarantine when they arrive? If yes, then how? I think I'm going to ask our dean to weigh in on this one because she's been involved in some of these conversations over the past 6 weeks or months at this point.
Actually, Kelly answered that already. There is a list of guidelines posted at the International Student Office as to how to quarantine. So yes, we have reached agreements with certain hotels that give preferred pricing and food deliveries and what have you, so that we can facilitate your quarantining. So all that information is available at the International Student Office, and the link is actually included in the presentation that we will be posting.
Thank you very much. I apologize. I did not see the presentation because I was very busy scrolling through the questions that were being asked during the presentation, which I'm hoping that wasn't the case with the students who were supposed to be listening. Okay. How is funding going to be paid? Can we open a bank account remotely? Cynthia can answer how the funding is paid regarding bank accounts. I'm not sure, but we can tell you.
I'll jump in here, Joanne, because
Okay.
I think if somebody does not have a bank account, that means they have not arrived in Canada just yet. So they no, you cannot open the bank account remotely. That's the quick question, the quick answer. So what happens is to those students that have not arrived yet they are receiving awards or teaching assistantships or research assistantships, the money will be deposited in your student account, and they will be waiting for you to arrive in Montreal to be able to withdraw the money and deposit in the bank account you will have opened in person. There are several challenges with all this process. Having a social insurance number is the first and most important part of it, which you cannot have until you arrive in Canada. So it's a sequence of steps. You have to arrive, get your social insurance number, open a bank account, then you start being paid as per normal and the money gets deposited in your bank account. So therefore, till you arrive here, the money will be deposited in your student account and it will go towards your tuition fees if you have an outstanding tuition fee balance.
Thank you. Thank you. There was a question about what is a student account. The student account is your tuition account. So you see it online. It's part of your, it's your tuition account. We're getting a few questions about the deadline for the winter payment. Annette, if
Yes.
you could answer that, please.
Yes, I can. So the due date for the winter fees is March 1st. That is March 1st, 2021. Students have up until the end of March, which is March 31st, to pay off their fees without having incurred interest or late payment. So the student has between March 1st and the end of March, an entire month to pay his or her fees in order not to incur interest or late payment.
Thank you. We're getting a few questions about how one applies for a TA-ship or an RA-ship. And that's a complex process and answer. And I'm playing screen bingo to decide who I'm going to send that to. Perhaps the dean would like to weigh in on how that's done in general across the university.
John, could you repeat the question? Because I was just answering one in writing.
It's okay. How do students apply for TA-ships and RA-ships in a general way?
Well, that's the process is very specific to each graduate program. In some graduate programs, there is a call for teaching assistantships. So there'll be an announcement circulated by the graduate program assistant, and then there's a deadline associated with the announcement and students get to apply. In other programs, they are allocated centrally based on the commitments made by the program upon admission. So the process varies greatly. My advice to you, if you're interested to be employed as a teaching assistant, is to reach out to your graduate program director and inquire directly what is the process in your department.
Thank you. There are questions about applying for scholarships. I'll quickly answer that. The fellowships at the School of Graduate Studies are sent to the faculties in the at the beginning of every year, and they are offered to students during the admission process. So typically you would hear about receiving a fellowship from your faculty at the time of admission. If anybody wants to say more, you can nod your head yes, but I think that that's a general enough answer to a general question on applying for fellowships. Yes, are we okay with that answer? Okay. Okay. Some courses have prerequisites. If those courses have been studied in a place other than Concordia, can the student still get into those courses? So this question links to a few others that we're seeing about the admission process and how students know what courses they're allowed to take or not allowed to take typically. So does somebody just want to speak quickly to what happens when a student is admitted? Thank you, Peter. Yes, our Associate Dean, Student Affairs.
Yeah, I should introduce myself. I am Peter Pawlik, the Associate Dean of Student Affairs at SGS. Yeah, so related to this question, academic credits from other institutions can possibly be transferred. That's certainly the case when people typically come in with courses completed at other institutions. That has to go through a process. So, you know, a service request is submitted and we assess, or the GPD will assess at the program level whether or not the course is suitable for the program. And if you're approved, then those academic credits can be transferred. But I think this question is more like if you've taken a course already that overlaps with the prerequisite, do you have to take the course again? I think that's the gist of the question more. In that case, once again, I know we keep saying talk to your graduate program director, but this is important because your academic unit has the best knowledge and expertise about whether the course that you're interested in, or maybe you don't want to take because you've taken another course in another institution, would be suitable as a substitution. Okay, so really that's a conversation you need to have with your GPD. So in some cases, it might be determined that a course that you've taken previously does not overlap sufficiently in terms of content that's required for your degree. So you may have to take a course here in that case. In other cases, usually what you have to do is produce a course outline from the previous course. It might be determined that it suffices and can substitute as a prerequisite, but that's something you should definitely talk to your graduate program director about.
Thank you. There's a question about how do students get an email address, a Concordia email address? Can I see a nod from anybody who actually has the answer to that question? Do we know how they get their Concordia email address?
Maybe I can take that one.
Okay.
I do believe that you would have to go through your Concordia portal and you make a request there under your student account. I believe you make a request to get a student email address through IITS, which is the IT kind of folks here at Concordia. So it's all done online through your Concordia portal. Go under student services. Thanks.
Thank you. How do I submit my official transcripts to Concordia? The university may not be able to send them directly to Concordia. Is it okay to send them in a sealed envelope? How are we dealing with official transcripts right now? I think maybe Nadeem, do you have the answer to that question?
Yes, so official transcripts are still considered official when it comes in a sealed envelope. Just make sure you check with your department, the GPA, or the person who's basically signed your letter of acceptance, and they'll basically be able to tell you that you might be able to give an unofficial copy of your transcript for the time being, and then they'll give you a deadline of maybe 1 semester that as long as your institution submits the official transcript. Some departments will accept a sealed envelope. Some departments have to verify and make sure that it's basically coming directly from the school. So I would highly recommend that you check with the department or the person who signed your letter of acceptance, and they'll be able to give you this information.
Thank you. Again, we're still seeing a lot of questions related to CAQs and government immigration requirements. So those will be updated and posted and you'll be able to see them. I'm not sure if anybody has put in the link to the presentation yet in the Q&A. So if students could please grab that so that you have it, so you know where to find it, and we'll continue to answer some of these questions. We're also seeing a lot of questions related to tuition deadlines, which have been answered. So you can refer back to the presentation to see that. And about international banking regulations, about how to open accounts and different things. So we'll get those answers for you and we will answer those as well. There are questions about being exempt from tuition at the master's level. There are no funding programs to exempt students from tuition. at the PhD level, upon admission, some students are given a fellowship that compensates their tuition. But again, you would have received that information at the time of admission. I'm scrolling my finger as fast as I possibly can. Some of these questions are really long, and I'm trying very hard to read them very quickly. Is there a good resource or a guide for Concordia's new international students? So over to you, Kelly.
Question was there a guide? There is a pre-departure guide that is linked in, the link is found in your admission documents. You can visit that on our website. We do also have a big resource of questions on our website. We have one specific for coronavirus, one link specific for coronavirus, and then we have our regular website available to students. And if you have any further questions, then feel free to email us at iso@concordia.ca.
Joanne, I'm just going to pipe in here for 1 second, just because it's 12:30 and we're going to launch an exit poll, so we hear from the students, and then maybe you can speak to remind people how we will answer the questions that are left over, because I know you mentioned that earlier.
Thank you.
Oh, that's the wrong poll, Douglas. So this is poll number 2 to launch, please.
There you go. You should see it now.
Perfect.
Had to stop the other one.
Thank you so much. So folks, thank you so much for being here. As we have seen, 1 hour is just not enough time to deal with the volume of questions that are coming in. So this is your opportunity to let us know how you'd like to proceed. As Joanne mentioned, this is the first moment that everyone here has gathered to try their hand at answering so many varied questions coming in from thousands of students, essentially. And so please bear with us and be patient, and we want to hear from you. So please answer this poll so that we know how you'd like to proceed in terms of more frequent town halls and different kind of setup for these town halls, a more informed Q&A, etc. So we're seeing that you did find 90% of you found this to be useful. A good 60% found their questions were answered, and maybe going back through those presentation slides at the beginning will help a lot of you as well as you click through those links that were in there. You would like to attend future town halls by a very large margin. We're seeing that a lot of you want them either once per month or every 2 weeks. So there's opportunities here that we can build upon. Thank you so much. I'm going to end that poll now. Thank you for your feedback. And I'll just pass it back over to you, Joanne or Faye, if you wanted to have any closing remarks.
Yeah, I'll just wrap it up here. Thank you, folks, for joining us today. We heard your message loud and clear, so we'll be back on your screens, at least on a monthly basis, and we'll all reflect on how this went today, because it was the first time, and hopefully the next time around it will be better. Hopefully Fourth Space will host us again. Thank you so much, Anna and Douglas, for providing this outlet for us. And for all those questions we didn't get around to today, we will get back to you. We will be, for the generic information, we'll be posting it at the same place where we will post the presentation from today. Just on a personal note, because I saw some questions on Access Space, there'll be an e-blast going to all graduate students from me tomorrow regarding library access. So you will have all that information on your inboxes. So thank you all. Have a great day. Have a great week. Good luck with exams, and do not hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions. Bye-bye.